Happy Thursday, Webheads, day after New Comic Book Day, and this is Worthy Ones. That's right, guys, the video series where I take the new #1 comic books of the week and see if they're worthy or not worthy. And guys, this week we got 6 books to talk about, so let's dive into this bad boy right from the start. And the first book we're going to be talking about today is Darkwing Duck. This is issue 1 from Dynamite Comics. Now, honestly, I was not a huge Darkwing Duck fan when I was a teenager. I think that's when this book or this cartoon was out, and I remember watching it and I'm like, man, this is kind of lame and stuff like that. But then I'm like, you know what, now that I'm older and they're coming out with a comic book from Dynamite, let's see what it has to offer, right? So when I opened up the pages of this comic book, it's kind of like what you could expect from the TV show, like to the T. I mean, all the characters are the same, their tones, their personalities, the vehicles, everything like that. And the plot of this story was about a bunch of duck people that were on their cell phones, and the cell phones wind up possessing them and I guess attacking Darkwing Duck. That's kind of what the issue was. It was a very simplistic plot. Like I said, it's everything that you can remember when it comes to this character, all his little gadgets and things like that. It's like Batman, but again, lighter toned. And they had to do this battle against this guy right here. I totally forgot his name. And they wound up prevailing at the end of the day. And that's that. So, you know what? Will I be picking up Darkwing Duck issue 2? No, I will not be picking up issue 2. However, I do deem this book worthy. That's right, guys, because you know what? Even though this might not be for everybody, this is definitely a comic book for the younger audience, and I feel like we need more of those comic books out there, right? So if I gotta give this a grade for the younger audience out there, I think kids are gonna get a kick out of this one, and I'm gonna give this a B. Again, we just don't see too many comic books for younger audiences. So the next book we're going to be talking about is DC Universe Lazarus Planet, We Once Were Gods. We all know what we can expect from these Lazarus Planet books at this point. It's all these short stories that have to deal with different characters having their experience with this Lazarus volcano and how certain people are getting powers and how our heroes are dealing with these people. I wish these books were like one-shots that had to do with like one major character. I think that would have maybe made this a little bit better. By the time you get to the end of this story, it's just like it ends, right? And then you find yourself forgetting about a character that's introduced. So like this Aquaman story, we get introduced to this character who wound up getting infected and becoming like a fish guy, right? And then you wind up seeing Aquaman come in and rescue him. And it was okay, but it was nothing like, okay, well, why am I going to care about this? And it does say to be continued in the dawn of DC, right? Then you get another story about Martian Manhunter in here, where you get this selfless boy who actually develops these powers to take pain away from people, which I thought was an interesting concept, and I would love to see this character in the future. And there was this major plot point in here where he felt the pain of, I guess, all the people that had to deal with Doomsday, right? Because the story took place in Metropolis. And Martian Manhunter tried to help this kid because he was experiencing way too much pain and couldn't, handle the power. And for some reason, like, Doomsday can resurrect itself in any way, shape, or form. And this guy was becoming Doomsday. And somehow he formed himself into this rock, and then they're keeping, him in safekeeping so no one can break him and people can become Doomsday, right? Then you get this Wonder Woman story where you get the gates that open up, and then they're going to come and attack the Amazon, so you get to see that, which looks like that's going to continue in the future. And then you get the Price of Eternity, which is Mary Marvel, and then you do get to see the return of Billy Batson in this comic, which I feel like in this story, that was the most important thing, because we had the the Champions of Shazam, where Mary Marvel was the new Shazam because Billy wasn't around. So now he's going to be back again, and he's part of the Rock of Eternity or whatnot. So that's going to continue in the future. Again, take these one-shots for what they are. If they're not worth your money, don't pay for it, don't buy it. The only thing I can say is that read the ones that you might be most attached to, that might have your favorite character in them. I gotta deem this book, once again, not worthy, because it's just not necessary. I would love to see this more, as it highlights one character dealing with the Lazarus volcano. So at the end of the day, I'm just going to give this an average grade of a C. Next book we're talking about this week is Inferno Girl Red issue 1. This is definitely an oversized issue. As you can see, this bad boy's got a spine. It's like a trade paperback. You can see how many pages there are. This book was $5.99, but definitely worth the page count, as this does give you a solid story. The artwork in this book was really well done. We learn about this girl by the name of Cassia, who is going off to a special school where it could help her family get a good job, make money in the future. Her mom is a struggling journalist that actually follows Inferno Girl Red. And I love this book because you not only got introduced to the characters in this book, the hero in this book, but you also got introduced to the city, the world that this book is taking place in. So it has all those different elements, and we get to learn a little bit of the personality of Cassia. So it makes you feel like right away you can get attached to her. She, again, is a college student. This might be a comic book for like teenagers or college students. But for me, even though I'm an older adult, I like comics, so it doesn't matter what grade she's in or what college she's in. I found this a relatable character and can go back in time and remember these times as a struggling student trying to fit in your surroundings. So I really appreciated what they had to do there. We wind up seeing this city actually get possessed by some kind of supernatural being, and then all of a sudden, we see this meteorite come and affects our main character, Cassia, and she gets this wristwatch. This is something definitely like out of Power Rangers or whatnot, and all of a sudden, she develops the powers of Inferno Girl Red. The person that winds up giving her advice, though, is her mom, which I find very interesting, right? So was her mom the former Inferno Girl Red, or was she just the journalist that covered the hero? So I thought this book was actually really awesome. How is she going to save the day? How is she going to help her city? Well, based at the end of this issue, she wants nothing to do with this power. So I thought that was a great cliffhanger, great book overall. If you're looking for a new superhero story that doesn't have any, editorial mandates or anything like that, look for Inferno Girl Red. This book is absolutely awesome. I really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely deeming this book worthy. It has everything that you're looking for. And at the end of the day, I'm going to give this book a B+. This was almost an A book. I thought it was just missing a couple things for me. It's cliche in many ways when it comes to superhero books. It's almost the writing is on the wall. There's not too much different here from what you've seen in the past from past superhero books. But what's going to make this book is going to be the journey of the main character on how she develops to become this superhero and what they're going to do different, right? So we'll see where it goes. Inferno Girl Red, though, is definitely a recommendation. Here we go. I don't know how many of you guys are really anticipating this book. I haven't heard a lot of people hyping this book up or really excited for it. This is The Last Ronin, The Lost Years. This is issue 1. So we're getting tales of Michelangelo right when he basically lost his brothers and he's got no will to live, okay? The good thing about this book, though, is it opens up with the young turtles, the next generation of turtles. And you get to see them as like basically toddlers, as little kids, right? And you get to find out some of their names. You get Odin, who is a bigger turtle. You wind up getting one kid that's named Uno, Moja, and I can't get the other one in there, but one guy's like a Raphael, or one kid's like a Donatello who likes to fix things and stuff like that. So the beginning of this book was really good with those turtles. So I was like, oh, I want to know more about this. But then it goes into April and Casey talking about Michelangelo learning the ways of defense. And we get to see a lost story about Michelangelo right before he started seeing his brothers, you know, talking to him in his mind about how he fought against different people, gangs, and, you know, maybe people related to clans and all that other stuff. And for me, that just wasn't the interesting part. Like, the last volume I liked because it was like the last Ronin, who's the last surviving, you know, turtle. And there was some... It was very intriguing. Like, you wanted to know that story. You wanted to see these turtles like older and how they survived, and the next generation is Shredder and all that. And this was just a past tale of Michelangelo just beating up on some people. And I was like, man, this is a lot of like filler. Like, I really didn't care about all that. And all I felt like I really wanted to read about was the little baby turtles, you know? I almost wished maybe they aged them up a little bit more so you could actually start seeing them do some fighting and do some training and all that stuff. So, you know, at the end of the day, I am going to deem this book not worthy. It wasn't exciting for me, and I don't know if I want to pick up the next issue of this. The only reason why I would want to pick up the next issue is to learn more about the next generation of turtles. Maybe they'll age them up as time goes along. But at the end of the day, this was just a very, very average comic. This was a C comic book for me. It was like, you gave me 3 pages of what I wanted to see. All the other stuff I really didn't care about. So, yeah, unfortunately, this was a letdown. And we don't even know if this is going to come out on time every single month, because IDW had such struggles with the lost volume. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with The Last Ronin. I'll definitely be on the fence if I buy the next issue. Murder World Wolverine issue 1. Guys, this book has been awesome. And you're like, wait a second, how could it be an awesome book when there's only the first issue? It's not the case. If you guys have read anything that's got Murder World on it, it's been an ongoing series, or it is a mini series that's been ongoing. This is technically the 3rd issue of the Murder World story, and this took place in Murder World Avengers, Murder World Spider-Man, and now this is Murder World Wolverine. Now, I don't get the marketing or the advertising behind this story, because if you really want to confuse people, this is how you do it, right? You put number 1s on every single one of these issues, and you advertise, you know, characters that are technically not really in the book, okay? At this point, if you're reading this book, you know what to expect. Anybody that's advertised, it's not the real deal. The first time we wound up getting Robotic Avengers, that's in Murder World. The last issue, you got Robotic Spider-Man that were in Murder World. And in this issue, you get Robotic Wolverines that are actually in Murder World trying to kill normal people, okay? And what this story has been about is about Arcade recruiting just your average Joe Schmoes to come to Murder World and kill each other for $100 million. Well, not necessarily kill each other, but survive different stages, right? And at this point, in the beginning of this issue, we are down to 61 contestants. And we get to see some of the more major players now as this book whittles down its contestants. And we learn that Vincent's in here. He was Leapfrog. So he was in this book, so he's a major player. You get that MMA person that was in this book, that's a major player. We get somebody that was inserted here that Black Widow is familiar with, who is also connected to this book from her last Black Widow run, which is quite interesting. And we get to see them actually figure out what Murder World is and how they're not in actually environment and how it's an illusion, and they caught onto Arcade's little sick and twisted game. Okay, the artwork is good. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of fighting. There's limbs lost in this book. You got robotic Wolverines chopping people's arms off. And in that whole journey, too, you get to see all the little sick and twisted things that happen in this comic book when it comes to, like, challenges. There was this one challenge where you have to sit in this chair, get your heartbeat down to 60 beats per minute. And if you don't do it under 2 minutes, you're going to get shot in the head. And it was cool to see those intense moments as these guys are all sitting on this chair. And once they get the heartbeat down, they go through that doorway to the next stage. Crazy, sick, twisted challenges. Love this book. Love this series. But it's very confusing to get readers to understand, you know, where this story takes place. And it's just, I don't know why you just couldn't call it Murder World. It would have been a lot better that way, and just name it 1, 2, 3. That would have been great. So I gotta deem this book worthy. This is definitely a worthy comic book. I definitely recommend it. I can't give it an A+ because of just the way it's advertised and the way that it's marketing, but I am going to give it an A because the overall story is absolutely outstanding, and I love every single page of this book. Alright guys, so let's talk about the big boy book of the week, and this one goes to Sins of Sinister issue 1. Now, I know a lot of people pick this up obviously to read, but if you did not pick this up to read, I know you picked it up as a cover buy to buy this beautiful cover right here. But after me talking about this book, you might actually want to read it because this could mark the beginning of the end of the Resurrection Protocols, which is my dream to actually happen, and also mark the end of the Krakoan Age as a whole, which I can't wait for it to happen also. So the Sins of Sinister book was actually a solid read. However, when you do read it, you must prepare yourself to read. It's a thick book. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and people can say, you know what, this is very boring. I checked out of it from page 4 and I didn't read anymore. And I could totally see that because it does take a little while to get this book going. But, you know, a few pages in, you get to see the real motive here behind Mr. Sinister and what he's been doing all this time from behind the scenes. Now, we know that obviously Mr. Sinister has, you know, his hands in the Resurrection Protocols. And after all this time, we find out that he compromised those protocols. So what he's done is he's inserted a little piece of himself in everyone's DNA to where they all have a little bit of Mr. Sinister inside, and their goal is to not only take over Krakoa, but to take over the world and to make people do things that maybe they normally wouldn't do, but he wants to take over everything in his image, in his world. And we get to see that throughout this entire comic book, right? It's like the Avengers go mad. Thanos was going to take over the cosmic universe. So what they do is they take a Juggernaut and they shrink him down and they shoot him into space, and like they exploded Thanos' head. And you get to see Dr. Doom, who's no longer in control. It's just a Doom bot. Like every leader, every power that could stop Mr. Sinister, he's basically taking in control. And he wants to rule the world in his vision, in his eyes. And just seeing everything that he's done in these, I guess there's a 10-year period that happens here, I guess. I could have missed something there, but you just get to see everything that takes place throughout the Marvel Universe. And I thought it was a very intriguing story, and I was like, that's pretty badass. Like, that makes Mr. Sinister for me a whole other level, that he would, you know, he would compromise those Resurrection Protocols, because I hate those Resurrection Protocols, and they actually came up with a cool story There's a little twist at the end that has to do with Mr. Sinister, which I'm not sure where they're going with that. But obviously, we get to see stuff that takes place. And there's a year 10, there's a year 100, and a year 1000. So the next 10 years, we're going to get Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants. We're going to get Nightcrawlers. And then we're going to get Immortal X-Men. And then it just keeps going from there. And I think it was fun. I thought it was really good, man. I thought for, you know, a hot minute there, I'm like, man, I'm just going to be spinning my wheels here. This is going to be boring as hell. But I thought this story was very interesting, and it kind of got me back on the Mr. Sinister side of things. They made him really goofy and stupid for the past couple years where I couldn't take him, but I love this motive. This is a very evil motive here, and I definitely deem this book worthy. That's right, guys. At the end of the day, I'm going to also give this book a. I thought this is a great and very creative story on the way to destroy those resurrection protocols in the future. The only thing is, I think it took a little while for it to get to its point, and this can turn off some readers. So do you agree with my worthy comics? Do you agree with my not worthy comics? Leave me in the comment section below on what you think. And if you love the content, I'm going to leave you my newest Comic Book Day haul video where it shows you everything that I picked up for the newest comic book week. And of course, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read those comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Bye.